It's Monday, October 17th, 2022, and this is episode 268 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike, I understand you went to friend of the show, Todd Goddess's house over the weekend. How did that go?
Yeah, it went great. My wife and I drove up there. He lives in the Minneapolis area.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a craps table right in his front room. I was laughing driving home because it's right by the front window. And I'm like, well, if someone walks by and there's a bunch of guys around the table, what do they think's going on? Especially, I was telling him here, just a side note, there's a little cafe in town that's very popular. You know, it's kind of a hangout.
In your town or?
Yeah, in our town. Our town. People go to eat there and kids like it because, you know, they have the hamburgers and all kinds of good stuff. And then there's a bar. So people hang out and drink at nights and stuff. And they have a patio. And anyway, recently got busted by the FBI for illegal gambling.
Really? Like in the back room or something?
I don't know. I mean, I heard this secondhand. It's the rumor going around. So I don't know any details. I wished I did.
Okay.
I was telling Todd and he was like, after you just moved there?
Well, get back to us if you do find out more information. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to try and find out. I don't know if they were playing high stakes poker, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. It couldn't have been slot machines, I don't think. It's kind of weird. Anyway, that's the rumor going around town. So.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, we went up to Todd's. He has a real nice setup, real nice table.
Yeah, I remember when he had that made. It's a custom table, right, that he had made, professionally made. And I remember he sent out some pictures when he originally had it made, and then you sent some pictures to me yesterday. It just looks like a beautiful table.
Oh, it's very nice, very nice. Yeah. And he had the felt. I asked him, well, where'd you get this felt? Because it has everything on it.
Yeah.
And he said, I custom designed it, and they made it for the table.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got, the fire bet and the all tall, all small, and he's got even the fire bet payouts are printed on there. It pays 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's nice that Todd's Casino pays on 3. That's nice.
Pays on 3. We never hit it in like 4 hours. I think one guy made 2 points. There weren't a lot of points, but there were a ton of numbers. The rolls were really good.
And you're just to be clear, this is just all play money. You weren't playing.
Yeah, yeah. Real, No. This is just for fun.
Yeah.
His friends who were there playing, several of them are very new to the game.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just learning and stuff. And one guy asked me, well, do you really, if you go to a real casino, do you really have to know, what the payout is? Or how often do you think the dealers mess up and cheat you? And I said, well, they're not really cheating you. It's just an accident. It's not very often. And a lot of times they catch their own mistakes.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't think you have to worry about that too much. But it is nice to know what you should be getting paid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no. It was just all for fun. And then Todd cooked. We took a break in the middle, and he had some shredded pork that he smoked. And that was excellent. Yeah. And just a lot of food, a lot of dessert stuff. Yeah, we had a great time. It was really fun. Anyway, let's get back to the craps part of it.
Okay.
Why aren't the rolls like that in a real casino? I mean, and everything was the same, just picking up the dice and rolling them.
Mm-hmm.
It's made so many numbers. Yeah. So I started with $1,000 in play money, right? Playing my normal way.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I had 3,000 in front of me.
Yeah.
I think at the end I ended up winning like 500 or 600. The last couple rolls weren't so good, but God, why is it there?
All right. Well, you do have some luck in the casino sometimes, Dr. Mike.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So I don't want to hear any complaints.
No, but I just like, oh gosh, wasted rolls.
Wasted, yeah, okay, rolls. I agree with you there. They were wasted.
And that's it. We had a great time,
okay.
So I'm looking forward to him doing that again, actually. And for being such a gracious host and everything, I told Todd, he's going to come down to Diamond Joe Worth.
Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah, he'll be there Friday and Saturday, he said, for sure. And I said, well, drinks for him are on me all weekend.
Nice. Wow, Dr. Mike, that's great. Now, the drinks are comped at Diamond Joe Worth, isn't that right?
Not exactly.
Oh, not exactly. Okay. Well, that's right. Yeah. I think you told me about that. So people, again, we're talking about our Veterans Day trip on November 11th through the 13th at Diamond Joe Worth. What can people expect in the way of cocktails?
Okay, well, as far as cocktails or beer go, they have everything, but you have to pay. And you have to, this is interesting, you have to pay with cash. You cannot pay with chips.
Oh, okay. That's too bad.
So, yeah, it has to be cash, which was funny. One guy ordered something and she came and he's like, well, I don't have any cash. I cashed it all in for chips, right?
Yeah.
And she said, now you got to get cash. I'll have to go cash some chips out.
Gosh.
It was a big hassle. Anyway, they ended up just comping it. But you can get drinks comped if you ask the pit. And they have these little vouchers they give you, and then you just hand it to the waitress, and it's comped.
Okay.
And, they'll do that for people who are playing, I guess, at a certain rate. I think if you, walked up and you bought in for $50 and you were there a minute and you asked for a drink, you might not get it. But if you're there for a bit and you're playing, I've seen them mostly comp people. So.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know. And again, we're looking forward to that trip and looking forward to seeing Todd again. It's been a while since I've seen him. Yeah.
Yeah. And his mom lives real close to there. So, he can drink up.
Oh, good. Yeah. Get a ride.
I can drive him home.
Mom, I don't feel so good. Come get me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, recently I was on the internet, as I often am, and I saw a game that was being offered by some online casinos called Teen Patti, TEENPATTI. And I thought, that's interesting. I never heard about it before. Let me do a little research. Maybe we can talk about it on the show. So it turns out it's a game that originated in India, and it's kind of a social game. It's often played during Hindu celebrations. And Teen Patti means 3 cards in English, 3 cards. And it uses a standard 52-card deck, and most of the hands play like they do in 3-card poker. But what you're doing is you're playing against other people like you would in a poker game. And I started researching this a little bit, and I thought, to get into the details, it would be a little too complicated for the show. But basically, yeah, it's like playing poker with friends, but you get 3 cards. You try to, have the best hand. But there are some other rules that are kind of interesting. Like if you don't look at your hand, you don't have to put as much into the pot during the betting rounds as people who have looked at their hand. Little things like that. Certainly in poker, you don't have a situation where somebody's putting in less than another player, unless like somebody's all in or something.
Well, that's interesting. So if you're willing to take a bigger risk, you don't have to put as much in.
Right, yeah. And there are other details. Again, I don't want to go into it, but I do want to encourage people to research it. Again, Teen Patti, TEENPATTI. And I would suggest finding a video, like a YouTube video, to see the game for the first time. Because if you start reading through rules that are printed up, it gets pretty confusing pretty quickly. So anyway, Teen Patti, Mike, you should check it out.
All right. Well, let's just clarify one thing. You were not on the dark web when you found this?
No, correct. If you do a search for Teen Patti on the dark web, you might get something else. Yeah, so just be careful. Yeah.
Yeah. When I heard that name, I'm like, what was he looking at?
Yeah, just be careful. Yeah. You're looking in the show notes. Teen Patti. What are we going to talk about? All right. Let's not make fun of other languages, okay?
Well, anyway, yeah, it sounds like a fun game.
Yeah, a social game, like a poker home game kind of a thing. It does seem like it's a pretty fun game, yeah.
Well, I mean, they have rock, paper, scissors now in casinos, so I guess
you saw that, yeah.
Yeah,
Machines,
I guess Teen Patti will be next. It's so funny. I saw somebody, it's like Las Vegas Vacation movie, right?
It really is, but they've got rock, paper, scissors machines now. Yep.
They got war. They got rock, paper, scissors.
It's all coming pretty soon.
It's all coming.
Guess a number between 1 and 10. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. We're going to be playing craps, and this isn't going so well. Let's go play some Teen Patti.
Well, Mike, here in California, the gambling propositions, it's really heating up around here. And, I made some predictions back before the numbers were even assigned to these propositions. And it just shows you how poorly I understand politics, because my predictions really aren't coming true here. But here's the interesting thing, Mike. Again, two propositions. Prop 26 is the one that the tribal casinos are behind, where they would have only in-person sports betting. And then Prop 27 is being pushed by some of the big online sports books like FanDuel and DraftKings, that kind of thing, so they could have online gambling. Well, anyway, the polls are looking like neither one is really going to pass, which kind of surprised me. Although
Really?
Prop 26, I guess, is gaining a little bit. And again, for craps and roulette players, we want Prop 26 to pass, because then we'll actually get real craps and roulette, not games based on cards. But here's the interesting thing, Mike. Prop 27 is really the prop that everybody is focusing on. You can tell based on the advertisements that the tribal casinos are way, way more interested in trying to defeat Prop 27 than to get Prop 26 passed. I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah. They're putting all their money just to make sure 27 doesn't pass.
Right. So it kind of angers me a little bit, because that's what they're more concerned about. It's like they don't really care about getting sports bet. They're claiming, when you do see stuff about Prop 26, that, this is going to generate billions of dollars. I don't know that in-person only sports betting is going to generate billions of dollars in revenue for the state. But anyway, what do I know? So it's a little discouraging that we could get through this whole thing and neither one passes, and we don't get sports betting at all, and we don't get real craps and roulette. So I know there's still some time before the election, but that's where it stands right now. And I think I mentioned this on a previous episode. The only vote no on Prop 26 ads that I'm seeing are being funded by the card rooms. Because in Prop 26, along with everything else, it gives the tribal casinos the option to sue these card rooms to prevent them from dealing blackjack and, table games, that kind of thing, even though they're player-based. They want to try to kind of shut that down. So, vote no on 26. It's really only coming from these card rooms. Anyway, okay, I know not all our listeners live in California, although California is a pretty big piece of the pie when it comes to sports gambling, if it ever comes. So that's where we stand now.
Yeah. Funny thing, this triggered my memory here. Yesterday when we were at Todd's house, one of the guys, I was telling them all, you need to come down to Diamond Joe. Yeah. I mean, a couple of the guys live in Rochester, so they got like a really short drive. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you guys should all come down. They were a little hesitant because they're new to the game.
Sure.
And I was like, Mark will be there. I'll be there. There'll be plenty of people to help you out if you have any questions. And, we'll keep the limits low if we can. And you can do it. I mean, come down for a few hours. And then one of the guys turned to the other guy and says, yeah, and while we're down there, I think we can do sports betting because, no sports betting in Minnesota.
Yeah.
It failed here on the ballot.
Yeah.
So, they were all excited about, maybe going down for sports betting. So I'm not sure why every state doesn't have it.
I know.
Really. I mean, it's a lot of revenue. And, I know there are people who are worried about problem gambling and stuff, but
it's always
if you want to bet, you can bet.
Yeah, it's special interest, Mike. That's what it comes down to. And in this case, it is the tribes. They want to corner the market. And this was the way that they thought that they could. And, who knows?
Yeah, it's greed on both parts.
It is greed on both parts. Yeah, I don't want to pick on the tribes because, it's true. It's greed on the part of the online sports books as well. So,
I mean, everybody, they could all do it together and they could all make lots of money.
That would have been a great way to go, but that's not how it turned out.
American politics, right?
Yep.
I mean, you could all do it together and everyone can win in this situation. Just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you have to have the whole pie? I can't even eat a whole pie myself from Costco. Those pumpkin pies
they're huge.
You get this time of the year. They're huge.
They're huge. Costco pumpkin pies are the biggest pumpkin pies I've ever seen.
I've tried to eat them.
Have you?
I mean, I've tried to eat the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
I just can't. I love pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I mean, we get one of those that lasts several days. So I'm always willing to share my pumpkin pie with whoever comes over.
All right.
And another thing, not to toot Costco's horn, you can't even make a pumpkin pie that big for the price.
No. Oh, no way. No, yeah. It's definitely a bargain.
My wife's like, I can't even make that. It's cheaper to buy it. So everybody just share.
All right. Well, maybe when we see everybody at Diamond Joe Worth, you can treat them to some pumpkin pie. In the meantime, we have one more episode before Election Day here in California. So 2 episodes from now, we'll be crying about it or we'll be happy about it, and we'll let everybody know.
Just out of curiosity, what is the poll saying? I mean, all right, 51-49, or is it way off?
So the last that I saw, the chances of 27 passing was in the 30% range, mid 30%. And the chances of 26, it was around 43%, but it was rising.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
So that definitely has a chance maybe to pass.
I'd say that's the way it looks right now, is 26 is more likely to pass. But right now, it's looking like neither one would pass. So we'll see. Still got some time. Polls aren't always right.
They probably have to have it in place for a year to break even because all the money they've spent on commercials.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it's the most expensive political campaign, certainly in California history. So.
Oh, my God. That's crazy. Yeah. It's so crazy.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first. YouCanBetOnThat.com and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move on to voicemails. First up is Jeff.
Hi, it's Jeff from Los Angeles. I just heard your last podcast about that cheating scandal, and it was something like she had Jack 4, and the flop came 10-10-9. She kept betting for no reason. It's very strange. And your logic, Mark, was that she mistook her Jack for a 10. That's a pretty big stretch. I mean, one's a number and the other is a picture of a guy holding a scepter and wearing a codpiece. I don't see how anyone's going to confuse the two. That's like me saying I get mailboxes confused with the color red. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. I think there was some cheating going on there. Nobody confuses a number with, a paint card. Nobody's ever looked at Prince Charles and said, that's the number 10. It just doesn't make sense. She was cheating. I truly believe that. Another thing I heard at a house game I was at where I first heard about this thing is that somebody said, since that show is being recorded, the players at the table after that hand said, hey, everyone's going to see this and know that you cheated. And that player visibly got sort of shaken. And that seems more like she was cheating. And even if you weren't cheating and you won all that money and you did it fair and square where, hey, if I lost it, I would have lost my money, you would fight harder to keep it. She just is willingly like, hey, I'll give it back if this just goes away. That doesn't look good either. So that's my thought on it. I think it's a cheating scandal. So take care, guys. Thanks for all you do. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff emailed us after he left the call and said that he actually watched the footage of them saying to her, oh, this is going to be reviewed. Everybody's going to analyze this. And he said when he actually watched the footage, he said, no, she didn't really react the way that his friends had told him, like she's all upset or everything. So,
well, one of the things when you're talking about reactions, everyone has a different take, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can look at something and say, oh, did you see how she reacted? And someone else say, well, I didn't see, that kind of stuff, I just discount completely.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's talk about this now. Yes. Confusing a Jack for a 10 is virtually impossible. I agree with you, Jeff. What I was trying to do, I was coming at it from, okay, let's assume up front that she wasn't cheating. How could she have played the hand this way? And so that's something that I suggested could have happened. Some other players have suggested that maybe she thought she had Jack 3. It certainly is more reasonable to think that she looked at her cards and forgot that she had a 4 and thought that she had a 3. At least those are numbers and they're close together like that. Right. Maybe she would have played the hand that way because there was a 3 on the turn. And in fact, when a person suggested that on Twitter, she replied with something like, nailed it, or, you got it, which almost makes her look more guilty because it's like, oh, okay, this is what I can say happened, instead of...
Even if she thought she had a 3, what's she doing in after the flop?
Oh, I know, Mike. It's terribly played. But here's the thing. Okay, did she cheat? Did she not cheat? I don't know at this point, But remember, she called after the turn. The river hadn't been revealed yet, okay? Even if you were cheating, you don't have a huge edge at that. She had like a 55% edge on the turn there, right? That's not the time where, when somebody goes, because he had a lot of outs. He had plenty of outs, right?
A lot of outs, yeah.
So if you're cheating, why would you risk it at that point? And then if people who think she's cheating are going to go on to say, oh, well, she knew what cards were coming up. Oh, come on. How do you transmit that information to somebody when they don't have a phone, And here, I'm not saying she wasn't cheating. It's just that we need some proof that she was cheating. And so far, no proof has come out. She did take a polygraph test and pass that. Not that that means much. I agree.
No, it doesn't mean much. And who administered it and what questions did they ask?
Right.
Because I tried to look that up and I could not find that.
Yeah. I guess if you're going to press me, I'd lean towards I don't think she was cheating, only because there's no solid evidence to that. And she called before the hand was over. And she's a bit of a wild card player. She goes kind of wild. And I don't think she's a very good poker player. How about that, right?
Right.
So
that's what I'm leaning towards, Mark.
So until some evidence comes out, that's where I'm going to stick. Now, I'm certainly not going to push for that. I'm not going to try to convince somebody. I'm not going to make that argument because I don't feel that strongly about it. But that's where I stand. Now, the other very bizarre thing that has come out of this is when Hustler Live started doing an investigation of it, they discovered that one of their crew members stole $15,000 worth of chips from Lou's stack when everybody was away from the table. What? Oh my! That's why this story, just keeps lingering and is just so fascinating. Oh my gosh, something else.
Well, and then she refused to press charges against him.
Mm-hmm.
That, is a weird thing in itself right there, right? Yeah. But I'm like you. I'm leaning to the fact that she's just a very poker player. And you should probably invite her to your home game. Because honestly, if she's going to bet like that, you're going to win some money.
There are so many more details to this story that we're not going to go over. We could spend entire episodes talking about this issue, but we're not going to. And really, I don't think we're going to talk about it again until some real solid evidence one way or the other comes out. It's too complicated, really, for us to just talk about on our show. And I know that, there are plenty of poker podcasts that are talking about it. So it is fascinating. It is very compelling, but we'll still have to see what, if any, evidence comes out.
I have to apologize for the dog barking.
Oh, what a good dog.
There's a big window here in this room looking out to the backyard, and all of a sudden there's a squirrel running for its life from a cat. And the dog wants to chase the cat and the squirrel.
Sure.
So there's a lot going on here, Mark.
Yeah, I understand.
Anyway, it's kind of wasted energy even to discuss it.
That's the way I'm feeling about it too, yes.
Yeah, because I'm sure that this investigation is going to reveal that, well, we don't know. There's really no evidence to say she was cheating. So without solid evidence, we're just going to go with, that's the way the hand went and blah, blah, blah. I do feel a little sorry for Garrett Adelstein because his reputation is a little tarnished. Because he took the money back.
Yeah.
And, he claimed she was cheating and, nobody has any evidence of that. And he's obviously entitled to his opinion.
Yeah.
But, he did give the money away, too, to charity.
Oh, okay.
So, that's good on his part. But I do think nobody wins in this situation,
right,
Mark.
There you go.
Let's just forget it and move on. There's bigger things in the world.
Yeah, let's move on. Next up is Julio.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Julio from the Bay Area. Just wanted to ask a question. I played this past weekend. I was playing Face Up Pai Gow, and I lost 2 back-to-back hands. That's not unusual, but both hands that I had was 3 pairs. I got beat. I think the first one I lost 2 full house. Second one, I think I lost 2 jacks on top, straight on the bottom, something like that. But anyways, it got me thinking, why doesn't the casino offer 3 pairs as a fortune bonus? It's like when you get a trips or full house, they pay straight pays 2-to-1 or whatever. Why won't they add the 3 pairs as maybe a payout of like 1-to-1, or maybe just you don't lose your fortune bet? Because getting 3 pairs is not easy, but I wonder if you guys have ever covered that. Maybe you guys done the math on how much the house loses edge on that, or the house edge is reduced or not. I'm pretty sure you guys have ran the numbers on that. So I was just kind of curious about that to see if you guys ever explored that or know why that's not a bonus. Yeah, I think 3 pairs is not easy to get. But anyways, just any thoughts? All right, have a good one. Thanks again, guys. You guys are doing a great job. Bye.
I think that's a great idea. To include 3 pair as, one of the payouts on these bonus bets. We've actually never thought about it before, but I think that would be great. I imagine the reason that the casinos haven't done it is because it's not a real poker hand. You can't make a 3 pair in regular poker, but there's no reason they couldn't include it on the bonus. Now, as far as a house edger goes, it would have to depend on how the pay table changes. But I think that's a great idea. It is actually harder to make 3 pair with 7 cards than 3 of a kind. So I think that's great. We don't know why, but casinos take listen to this.
Notice.
Yeah.
Julio ought to get some kind of kickback for this.
Yeah, he should patent it. Yeah.
Yeah, because honestly, that would be a hard thing to get. It wouldn't be 1-to-1.
Well, the thing is, okay, but no matter how hard it is, you're talking about a pay table that pays on a lot of different hands.
Right.
So, maybe that, even though 3 pair is harder to get than 3 of a kind, maybe it is just money back. I'm not saying that it makes sense if that were the only hand that paid off on a bonus bet. But you have to consider, the whole pay table.
The whole pay table, yeah. But think about it, Mark, in a session. Now, we played times where we played Pai Gow for 10 hours straight. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times do you get 3 pair? It's hard.
It is hard, and it's fantastic when it does happen,
Right,
but,
right.
I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. Somebody out there's using their brain.
Yeah.
It's obviously not casinos.
It's not casinos where they, make you set your hand and face up Pai Gow when the dealer has ace high, and if you foul, you lose.
Right.
Stupid. All right, last call.
Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Bert from Virginia with a trip report and a question. I took my adult kids for the first time to Vegas. We stayed at Fedora, my wife and I put the kids up at Harrah's so they could have a little more fun time. It was a good trip. Spent 2 days up on the Strip. Went downtown for the last 2 days of our trip. We stayed at the Plaza. I think the kids enjoy the downtown area more. Fremont Street with the live concerts and festivities was a blast for them. They really enjoyed, the walk-up bars and everything. It was just a lot of fun. The gambling I actually came home a couple of dollars up this time. Craps was terrible. Video poker was sort of stable. But my wife and I were waiting for a dinner reservation at Aria. I sat down at a slot machine and won $1,300 hand pay. So gotta love that. Here's my question for you. A lot of people like myself know we actually enjoy downtown more than the Strip. So I'm wondering why none of the big players like MGM or Caesars have seized on any downtown properties, since a lot of people are probably now preferring downtown over the Strip just because everything's a lot closer. It's a sort of different vibe. It's a much more laid-back vibe. With Circa, you have upscale if you want it. So just wondering what you guys think of that. Love the show. Hope to catch up with you guys on a trip soon. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Bert.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sure that Caesars and MGM, these big corporations, have toyed with the idea of maybe acquiring a downtown property. But I'm guessing that downtown really doesn't fit into the business model of these big companies. They're about the Strip resorts, and I think they're happy with that, especially since there's been this trend kind of away from gambling and more to hospitality and food and that kind of thing. What do you think, Dr. Mike?
I agree. Yeah, I think one of the things, if you notice about downtown casinos, is they're not huge.
No.
I mean, let's take Circa out of the equation for a second, even like the Golden Nugget is not a huge casino
compared to some of the strip
casinos.
Right.
Yeah. And so your workspace for, say, bars and restaurants and clubs and all this is limited.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not really the design of the strip casinos, which have plenty of restaurants, plenty of bars, and usually they each have one big nightclub, and they're just not the room downtown for that unless you tore something down and built something new.
Right, yeah.
And then made it multi-leveled.
Yeah.
Or you put something kind of off Fremont Street.
Yeah, right. Yeah, somewhere away from kind of the
just maybe a block away or something.
And then that's
where
different.
You could build something bigger.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the size. They're older casinos and they just don't have the size. Now, Circa, they did a great job. They came in, they built a big, huge casino with lots of room. And when I was in there, I didn't feel like I was downtown.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the whole, it's like, strip property. But, again, their gimmick, I shouldn't even call it that because it's not really, but it's sports betting, right? And I think Derek Stevens has done a great job with that.
Sure.
Are people really preferring downtown? I don't know about that. Maybe if you just say, gamblers, okay, sure, because you basically get a better gamble downtown. But I don't know if you can make that general statement. I think a lot of people still love the Strip and everything the Strip has to offer.
Yeah, I think if, let's say you lived here in Minnesota, and you're going to go to Las Vegas, and you're not a person that goes all the time, right?
Yeah,
you're a person that goes once every 3 or 4 years for a vacation. You're going to go to the Strip.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You want to see the lights. You want to see all the people. You want to see everything going on.
Yep.
You're not worried about gambling as much, and you're not worried about moving from place to place quickly.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a frequenter, if you're a person who goes to Vegas, every month or every couple of months, yeah, downtown's great. You can just pop in and out of places, and the gambling's better. So, yeah, maybe you like that. But I think most people are Strip people.
Yeah. Well, and just a reminder, for a brief period, Caesars did own a downtown property. On January 23rd, 2004, Harrah's, which Caesars used to be Harrah's, bought the Binions Horseshoe and then sold it less than 2 months later. They retained the Horseshoe name and the World Series of Poker brand. That's what they really wanted, was the World Series of Poker. But they didn't hold on to the hotel and casino for very long. They didn't want it. So, I mean, there is a pretty concrete example of, okay, we really don't want a downtown casino. It just doesn't fit in with our model. So, I'm sure they've considered it, but don't look for something like that to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. And like I said, I just don't see it happening unless they built a property kind of off the Fremont Street experience somewhere. And then again, is that a downtown property? I mean,
right. Yeah. How far is it off Fremont? Right.
Yeah. I just don't think that they're interested in downtown because there's nowhere to put one.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring donations. Kurt, Robin from Anytime Gambling, Nathan, and Brian Dancer. Thank you very much. We also got a donation from listener Mike. He said it's a karma donation for a Foxwood and Mohegan Sun trip. Mike actually emailed us. He plans on doing some group gambling there with some friends who aren't really that much into gambling. We had suggested to him maybe some stadium gaming. Well, slots for sure. In fact, he was going to do some slots like slot golf and that kind of thing. But stadium gaming, I think, is great for people who maybe aren't gamblers because, if you can all sit together, you can all bet on the same blackjack hand. The limits are lower. So hopefully he'll have a very lucky trip with his friends.
Yeah, they non-gamblers, he's bound to win a ton, Mark.
Yep.
Somebody's going to make some weird bet on some wheel of fortune and win a ton of money.
Yep. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listing showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings and our list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonthat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonthat and on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonthat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review of the show. We love getting your feedback. All right, Dr. Mike, we have held our tongues up to this point. I have a feeling I know what you'd like to talk about here at the end.
Yeah, Mark, the most amazing thing happened to me last night.
Oh, yeah?
Let me tell you what happened.
All right.
I had bought a lottery ticket.
Uh-huh.
I took it to the store yesterday before we went to Todd's. I won $100.
Really? Oh, fantastic.
$100. I didn't even know. I hadn't checked it. I said, oh, by the way, can you check this? You know?
Yeah.
He looked at me and said, oh, your lucky day. And I'm like, what? He said, you got $100. What a day I had.
Wow.
I won $100 on the lottery.
Yeah.
And then we had all this fun at Todd's house.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful day for the drive, by the way. It was just an exceptionally beautiful day.
Yeah.
Nice, brisk, but clear, nice day. And then last night I come home and I sit down and I turn the TV on. And to my surprise, the Padres are playing the Dodgers.
Oh, you didn't know that was going to happen. Interesting.
No,
okay.
I was completely shocked. And they had a nice little comeback win.
Oh, nice little comeback win. Oh, good for the Padres. Oh, my gosh, Mike. The wave that we are riding. Oh, this is unbelievable. Now, see, the thing is, when they were playing the Mets, that was kind of the most important thing to me. It's like, oh, all right, we made the playoffs. We've made the playoffs a few times recently and then just eliminated right away, right? Nothing else. So it was the Mets series that, to me, was like, okay, this is the important one. If we go further, then that's fine, but the Mets series. And, that game that Musgrove pitched, I was talking to you about it, Mike. Not the most exciting. If you didn't care about the teams and you saw that game, it's like, oh, okay, it's a pretty good game.
Right.
But from a Padres fan point of view, that is one of the greatest games the Padres have ever played. And, to take that series from the Mets. Oh, and that reminds me, too, I want to thank Ed O'Connor. We had made a bet with him. He suggested this before that series started, that if the Padres won, he would make a hardway bet for us. And if the Mets won, we would make a hardway bet for him. Obviously, the Padres won, so he made this hardway bet, I believe it was at Borgata. He said that it lost. There was like a 7-out, 2 rolls later. But he still sent us the amount that he bet as a donation. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, Ed's a great guy. And, I feel for him because the Mets started this season off so good.
Oh, I know. Talk about a collapse. Yeah.
And then they kind of collapsed and they didn't even win the division. Right. And Atlanta caught them and they were quite a ways behind.
Oh, yeah. It was like 10 and a half games or something.
Yeah. I mean, when you had a 10-game lead, you're thinking, okay, we got this.
Yep.
But then they ended up being a wild card team and then having to play the Padres, who actually are peaking now.
Yeah.
And, so the poor Mets go down. And then, I thought to myself, well, the Dodgers, right? We played them 19 times. They won 15 of them.
Oh, yeah. They dominated the
season.
Padres this season. Yeah.
And everyone's been talking about this. Oh, they beat them 15 out of 19 games. They won 111 games during the season. They're unstoppable. And not to rub it too much in the Dodgers' faces, although I love doing this, their manager, who used to be with the Padres, and I do like him a lot, actually said, we're going to win the World Series.
Yeah. Well, that's...
He actually said, we're going to win the... And, when you won 111 games and you've got the number one offense and the number one pitching staff and the number one relieving corps in baseball, you probably do think you're going to win.
Certainly on paper, they were the best baseball team this year. I agree.
Oh, by far.
And that's what everybody picked, yeah.
What everyone forgets is none of that matters when you get to the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
When you get to the playoffs in any sport, it's who's peaking and who's fired up and who wants it more.
3 games to 1 in this series. That's, the other amazing thing, right? We take them 3 games to 1, yeah.
It didn't go to a game 5. Thank God, because I don't know if I could have taken it.
No, I know, and I'm glad that we can talk about it today instead of saying, oh, one more game to go.
Yeah, tonight. We got to wait for tonight. I kept everything clear today because I'm thinking I've got a huge day. I've got football all day, and then I got to watch the Padre game at night and the Sunday night football game at the same time. And now I can just sit back and relax and watch football, and I'll check in on the Yankee game. But
all right. Well, it's very exciting for Padre fans. This doesn't happen to us very much. And Mike, I love baseball, Baseball is my favorite sport. I can romanticize about it. I can start talking about it like James Earl Jones does in Field of Dreams, that kind of thing. But I grew up with it. It's so much a part of America. And I'll tell you what, Mike, too, you and I grew up in the 70s, and during that time, most of the Padre games were not televised. So
very few were televised.
It was very unusual for a game. So our exposure to baseball during that time, and certainly with the Padres, was either we went to a game or we listened to it on the radio. And certainly going back, to the earlier part of the 20th century, that's how people, experience baseball, mostly on the radio. And baseball is without a doubt, the best sport for radio. It's almost like it was made for radio. And I'll tell you what, I think it was game 3, we were over at my parents' house, we were watching the game, and it was like the second inning, and Sherry and I left to go get pizza to bring back. And we're listening to the game in the car, and I'm thinking, I'm enjoying this as much, listening to the radio, as much as I would be if I were in front of the TV watching it. It just translates that well. And it's been such a huge part of my life. I know I'm going on and on and on. And,
Mark, I feel the exact same way. You know what my favorite memories are of baseball? Going to bed when I'm a kid, when I'm 10 years old, 12 years old, and putting the game on. Because, you go to bed early in those years, and the game's, just like in the third inning or something, right?
Yeah.
And so I've got the game on under the covers with my radio and keeping one ear on the door. So when my dad opens the door and says, "Are you still up?" I can say, "Oh, no, I'm falling asleep," because he didn't want me staying up all night, and me, under the covers listening to the game until I fall asleep or it ends.
Yeah.
And I just love that. It was so much fun just laying there listening to the game and hearing Jerry Coleman's voice in your ear.
Yeah.
I love listening on the radio. I absolutely love it. And here's another thing for Padre fans, hearing Tony Gwynn Jr.'s voice on the radio.
Because it's like hearing his dad.
It's like hearing his dad. He sounds just like him.
Yeah.
And when you're listening to it, and he's very good. He's a very good announcer. I keep meaning to write him a letter thanking him for going into announcing.
Yeah.
Because I love to hear him, and it reminds me of Tony Gwynn. Yeah. It just makes me happy.
Yeah. We are Padres fans. We've had a lot of disappointment. So, we're still very cautious here. We're hoping that, we're hoping that 2 weeks from now, when we're recording another episode, that we're still talking about the Padres. But for right now, this city is just on fire, and we're loving it. And again, Mike, everyone in San Diego wants to thank you for moving away, because that probably is what's going to do it. Yep.
We all know what caused this.
Yep.
I told Lynn before, when we first talked about moving, I said, we move away and the Padres are going to win the World Series, Lynn. Oh, gosh. Well, they're going to have their hands full with Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
But they do have home field advantage.
That's amazing.
If I had told you a month ago, the Padres are going to have home field advantage in the National League Championship Series, what would you have said?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
another stupid Dr. Mike thing.
That's right. Once again, Dr. Mike's wrong.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I am so excited. Mark, I couldn't sleep last night.
All right. Yeah, I know. All right. Yeah.
And it's kind of like when you're going to Vegas,
Yeah.
When you got a flight in the morning to leave for Vegas and you just can't sleep all night. That's how I felt.
Yep. I hear you. All right. Let's wrap this up. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, go Padres.
Okay, let's thin this herd. Untucked shirt, no thank you. Born in San Diego, yikes.
An adult named Todd?
So, this is what online dating is like?